Hey there, folks. I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and yeah, DJ Khaled album bomb. And this, it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. So no, we're not that lucky to get a JID album bomb this week. He didn't get a single song on the Hot 100, despite his album being amazing. It's a letdown. Instead, we got DJ Khaled dropping 10 new songs on us. Joy. And yet it might not be the biggest story of this week, especially when we take a look at our top 10. Yes, As It Was by Harry Styles is still holding at number 1 thanks to radio and streaming, but there is a song that seems to be challenging it, Bad Habit by Steve Lacy, up to number 2, holding steady on enormous streaming, although the radio growth does not seem to be robust enough to make it a serious competition. But it did overtake About Damn Time by Lizzo at number 3, which saw a radio drop off and not enough sales to really make it up. Still held up over Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush at number 4. It's got enough streaming and radio to hold, but it's probably reached its peak, and that opens up the door for Sunroof by Nicki Yor and Daisy at number 5, which has all the radio momentum, but can't muster a push anywhere else. But now we got that big story, debuting at number 6, Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears. I'll get into the song's quality later on, but it's here thanks to big sales, surging radio, and enough streaming to make it a contender. I don't think we're going to be getting rid of this anytime soon, whether we want to or not. Hell, leapfrogged over Super Freaky Girl by Nicki Minaj, stranded at number 7. The streaming is good, but she's just not making up the radio fast enough. Whereas I Like You, a happier song by Post Malone featuring Doja Cat, picked up a spot to number 8, because it keeps steadily closing those radio margins. Hell, it jumped over Break My Soul by Beyonce at number 9, but that might be an issue of that track getting rotated off the radio faster than you might expect, and even then it held up over Wait For You by Future Thames and Drake at number 10, which seems like it's here more on radio inertia and the streaming gradually fading than anything else. And on that pleasant note, our losers and dropouts, where in the latter category, I'm certainly not going to complain that Super Gremlin by Kodak Black is finally gone, and Cooped Up by Post Malone and Roddy Ricch looks like it could miss the year-end list for 2022. But it is an album bomb week, and we've got a lot of losers, so off the debut, Pink Venom by Blackpink fell down to 53, and Where It Ends by Bailey Zimmerman hit 72, with returns Hotel Lobby Unconfused by Quavo and Takeoff hitting 94, and BZRP Music Sessions Volume 52 by Bizarrap and Quavo at 100. Then we got the one continued loser with Alone by Rod Wave falling down to 76, but we got a lot more gains that lost traction, like Pick Me Up by Gabby Barrett at 80, She Likes It by Russell Dickerson and Jake Scott at 84, Ghost Story by Carrie Underwood at 85, Until I Found You by Steven Sanchez at 87, Puffin' on Zooties by Future at 91, Thought You Should Know by Morgan Wallen at 96, and La Corriente by Bad Bunny and Tony Dice at 99. And while we're with Bad Bunny here, Después de la Playa hit 74, and Tarot with Jay Cortez hit 83. Now for the rest. Alien Superstar by Beyonce fell to 90, Bad Decisions by Benny Blanco, BTS and Snoop Dogg hit 89, Whiskey on You by Nate Smith hit 82, FNF Let's Go by Glorilla and Hit Kid hit 73, Hot Shit by Cardi B, Kanye, and Lil Durk hit 60. I honestly thought this had fell off the charts. Sticky by Drake hit 56, and Like I Love Country Music by Kane Brown fell to 52. But now on to our gains and returns, where we had no returns, and only one gain for Wishful Drinking by Ingrid Andress and Sam Hunt, which I'm going to chalk up to a small album boost. No, the story is DJ Khaled's album bomb, so for the songs that are outside of the top 40 and are neither the best nor the worst, Let's Pray with Don Toliver and Travis Scott at 86, No Secret with Drake at 78, It Ain't Safe with Nardo, Wick and Kodak Black at 77, Party with Quavo and Takeoff at 66, Keep Going with Lil Durk, 21 Savage and Roddy Ricch at 57, and Use This Gospel remix with Eminem and Kanye West at 49. But alright, now for our list of new arrivals proper. Number 98, Wait in the Truck by Hardy featuring Lainey Wilson.
But I knew right then I'd never get hit again when you said to me, wait in the truck.
I I had heard about the subject matter behind this song before I actually listened to it. Not so much that it was controversial, but more that this was the sort of darker storytelling around domestic violence that you don't often get in mainstream country these days. Not that it hasn't existed before, which is why Hardy's press run around this song has kind of annoyed me in highlighting how transgressive it is. But alright, it's a bluesy, slow burn, organic country song where Hardy finds Lainey Wilson on the side of the road. She had been abused, he goes and shoots the abuser, and then he goes to jail. Played as straight and solemn as you can get with all these gospel choirs. And yet, for as much as I feel like this should work for me, there's a lot that doesn't, starting with Hardy and Lainey Wilson really being miscast. Wilson is a way more powerful vocal presence than Hardy's muted rasp. The equilibrium of the song is off balance, and it can't help but remind me of the songs where the woman takes all this into her own hands, like on Goodbye Earl, or Karate by Brad Paisley, or any number of Carrie Underwood or Miranda Lambert songs. Now, I might call this more realistic than some of those power fantasies, but then drill into the lyrics on how Hardy just smokes one of the abuser's cigarettes after he dies like a cool badass, and then gives himself up to go to jail rather than, I don't know, running or not getting shot by the police at the scene of the crime. So it reveals itself as more of a masculine power fantasy, almost of a different era and for a different audience. And okay, fine, it mostly works for that, but let's not make this more than what it is. Just saying. Number 81, I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and Bebe Rexha.
Night of my life, and wherever it takes me, I'm down for the ride. Baby, don't you know I'm good? Yeah, I'm feeling alright.
Alright, let's not mince words about this. It's a song that first debuted back in 2017 that's only now getting a release because both these artists are desperate for any kind of hit. It got some TikTok traction, and the Eiffel 65 sample will get them some vestige of meme attention. But once you recognize that, there's nothing else here. The original I'm Blue has more unique flair than Bebe Rexha's nasal delivery of the bland party lyrics on the hook. The buzzed out synths feel painfully dated and not particularly well mixed. And outside of getting that keyboard line stuck in your head yet again, there's not a shred of anything here that's worth caring about. The laziest kind of sampling. It's just completely soulless. I mean, it's no surprise it took this long to get a proper release, and even if you weren't alive for the original one-hit wonder meme from Eiffel 65, you can do better than this. This sucks. Number 71, Golden Hour by Jake.
It's your golden
You would think artists would stop naming songs after someone with a much bigger profile already laying claim. In this case, Casey Musgraves with a Grammy-winning album that only came out in 2018. But hey, might as well grab a little bit of clickbait traction. But alright, fine. Jake is a singer-songwriter type who's gone viral so many times on YouTube, specifically YouTube Shorts, that I'm a little bit surprised we're only hearing about him now. And with this, you know, there's a part of me that's reminded of Bozzy with the abortive song construction, the pretty basic content, the cadences cribbed from hip-hop and R&B, and the rather cheap-sounding production, especially in the drums. And yet, why isn't this really working for me? Well, part of it is how the second he starts belting and getting into a more expansive range, all the effects pile in, aka what happens when someone used to a more intimate setting has to go bigger and can't really pull it off. But also how they don't really blend well with the very pretty strings and the pianos that are trying to build that orchestral feel. I feel like there was some subtlety required to make this song work, especially with the reference to Childish Gambino and Frank Ocean's Blonde, and it just did not materialize. Now, to be fair, this feels more amateurish than outright incompetent. There's a sincerity to some of the clunkier lines that could work, but it also means that it doesn't really work, at least for me. I get the audience that's gonna love it, but again, not me. Number 55, Juice WRLD Did by DJ Khaled featuring Juice WRLD.
DJ Khaled with the test, I got another one. DJ Khaled with the best, bitch, I'm number one.
Okay, enough. I was about done with the Juice WRLD posthumous songs last year, but the fact that this is even here is borderline offensive. The only reason this is on this album is the hook from Juice WRLD, where it's built off of DJ Khaled's catchphrase. And considering this song was first teased in 2019, then fully leaked in 2020, it's here because DJ Khaled wants something self-aggrandizing under the guise of a tribute. But as I've said before, if the Juice WRLD song isn't any good, even casting it as a tribute leaves this awful awful taste, from the slapdash gunplay and flexing on the verses, the worst side of Juice WRLD, where he then calls his gun horny, and we get the line, "I blow up like a turban on top of my head." Coupled with the limp, oily guitar behind the whirring trap beat and the overcompressed vocal leads, the song is just gross. Let Juice WRLD rest, for God's sake. Leave behind this trash. Number 37, Gatubela by Karol G and Maldy.
Ojalá pueda quedarte, porque así me quedo yo.
I don't think it's been recognized enough that Karol G's had a remarkable 2022 on the Hot 100. 2 credible hits with Memi and Provenza, and I actually like the latter, so I guess I shouldn't be that surprised that she's looking to notch another one, this time with the Puerto Rican reggaeton act Maldy, who you might recognize as the other half of Plan B, the long-running reggaeton duo with Chincho Corleone, and I'm only realizing that this group goes back to the early 2000s. Anyway, with this, I'm cooler on it, half because of the stock, blocky reggaeton percussion against the chintzy keys and rattling guitars with some questionable mastering, half because the song's explicit horniness doesn't really go anywhere interesting, but also mostly because Maldy is such a squawking, obnoxious presence that he does not fit with the vibe at all. Apparently, this was put up on a Spanish actress's Instagram before anyone was notified of a proper release. Now, I'm guessing this was surreptitiously done intentionally by the label, but I gotta wonder if this could have been held back or buried as an album track, because it's not that good, and I'm not impressed. Number 36, Beat the Odds by Lil Tjay.
Some shit I wanna archive. Fresh looking out, tryna bring a nigga down. Just thinking about the possibility I frown.
I want to make this explicitly clear, in case it hasn't been, talking about the feuds that I've seen on the charts the past couple of years. I understand how it escalates, mostly courtesy of dipshit teenage white boys who will never have a stake in any of it, but are happy to egg on the street-level violence. Who do you think Adam 22's audience even is? But I don't want to see any artist get killed, especially those who are trying to get out of the streets. So yeah, it was worrying to see Lil Tjay get shot, have to make a slow recovery, and I'm happy he looks like he's going to be able to get back to music. But then I hear this, and it doesn't sound like he's learned anything from this. I get the reality of always having to have the gun on you, and then blasting the vlogs that amplify the sensationalist drama, that's right. But he's still talking about shooting his ops, and the killers around him, and there's very little in the way of thinking deeply about who might die, or the fact that he nearly died. I mean, he beat the odds. For now. And when you pair it with a somber piano instrumental with a brittle percussion, it's less about survival, feels more like about delaying the inevitable. So while I get why this song can work for some, I don't want to hear it. Number 31, Big Time by DJ Khaled featuring Future and Lil Baby.
I got more than one main bitch cause I'm big time. She went and tatted my name because I'm big.
You know, I'll give Future this. Somehow for the luxuriant and overcompressed production that DJ Khaled wants to throw everybody on, Future's vocal lead actually sounds better in the mix than the vast majority of his peers, even if the bass swamps out everything and the snares are openly clipping. Outside of that, stock flexing from everyone here, although I'm still chuckling with Future opening the song with Rainbow Audemars cause my bitch bisexual. I mean, his brand of queer acceptance on this and Gold Stacks from earlier this year is just kinda wild. Otherwise, it's not worth caring or talking about. Next, number 29, Beautiful by DJ Khaled featuring Future and SZA.
You just make me feel so beautiful.
So this has widely been held as the best song on the album by a lot of folks, and yeah, I get it. The live drums against the piano and chipmunk sample, that's not too shrill. The fact that Future and SZA's vocal leads actually sound pretty decent in the mix, and the flexing throughout the song is actually well balanced, mostly courtesy of Future and SZA both recognizing their own toxic tendencies, and they kind of balance each other out, which is a nice touch that I generally like on songs like this. Now granted, it still has a bunch of mugging ad-libs from DJ Khaled that keep this away from being better, especially in the atmosphere, but honestly, I'll take what I can get. It's a good song. Number 17, God Did by DJ Khaled featuring Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, John Legend, and Friday.
God is great. nosedive, they just...
Of course, the other song that's been placed on a pedestal by so many fans is this one, most notably for the Jay-Z verse that broke the side of the internet that worships New York and New York rap media. And before we get to that, let's talk about everything else, because the song really is overstuffed. You could have easily chopped a verse off, likely from Rick Ross, who I actually think matches the production and vibe really well, but doesn't exactly hit the same notes of greatest of all time that Lil Wayne and Jay are trying to push. And John Legend especially just feels perfunctory on the outro. But then the beat ramps up as Jay-Z steps in, and let me put aside all the bullshit Jay-Z has said the past couple of weeks about how he doesn't like to be called a capitalist, and used a lot of disingenuous nonsense to skate around it, even trying to say it's a slur. You've wanted to be a billionaire for a long time, Hove. You lost that underdog card at least a decade ago. But for what the verse is trying to do, yeah, it's good. Jay-Z sounds engaged. The juxtapositions between legal and illegal businesses are well executed, while highlighting he still knows so many tricks that many don't listen to pick up on and win legitimately, where he now aims and targets governments and tax avoidance, and he doesn't want to be called a capitalist cute. But he's also the sort of careful rapper who can eviscerate anyone who dares go against him, where even he's now amazed by the sheer heights of his success. Hell, in particular, I like the global perspective he takes, especially in referencing UK MCs, where he sees a lot of that same potential. It adds some international flavor to the top of the heap flexing, where I might get the appeal, even if I don't really find it interesting or aspirational. I prefer Jay-Z's personal content, and outside of references to old friends and colleagues that he's saved or empowered, this verse isn't really that. And now I'm not going to deny that it's impressive, but the verse does overpower the track that otherwise had more potential. So while this is a good song, it's not great, not transcendent, at least to me. And Jay-Z, you're a capitalist, get over yourself. And finally, number 6, Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears.
Count the headlights on the highway.
You know, it's not that Elton John working with the new generation coming up in pop, it's not that I have a problem. He's a living legend. It's cool to see him throw support behind newer acts and give them the benefit of his clout. But chopping his own songs into these Frankenstein mashups feels cynical in a similar way to when folks sampled the Michael Jackson Paul Anka sessions. They didn't work at the time. Trying to make them work now is awkward, especially when the promotion is determined to erase some of that history and make these a thing based on name recognition alone. It's the reason Cold Hard PNAU remix of Dua Lipa does not work for me at all, and now with the collab with Britney Spears, we get Don't Go Breaking My Heart, The One, and Tiny Dancer mashed together. And no, this also doesn't work at all. The disco groove and the strings and pianos are kind of pretty, but they can't mask the incredibly mushy and over-processed vocal leads. Britney's best material utilizes tightness. There's none here. But the larger problem is the exact same as Cold Heart. It takes a forgotten Elton John song that's not good and tries to mash it up with classics. And a great mashup should never drag down a composition to its worst parts. I respect the sentiment. I respect what it means for Elton John to do this for Britney, especially given what she's been through, but the song still sucks. I'm sorry. But that was our week. Honestly, kind of rough if DJ Khaled's getting both the best and honorable mention here, with Beautiful with Future and SZA getting the top spot, followed by God Did with Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, John Legend, and Friday. But he's also getting the worst of the week for Juice WRLD Did with the late Juice WRLD. Just stop with the posthumous cuss. At this point, it's gross. And we're getting a tie for dishonorable mention between Hold Me Closer by Elton John and Britney Spears with I'm Good Blue by David Guetta and Bebe Rexha. Next week, I reckon we're probably going to be in the clear from the album bomb, so just going to be the fallout. We'll have to see what happens there. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.